Yes.
Are all the mics on?
Yeah. Yes.
Are there little wavy lines when I talk, Jim?
Yes.
Testing 1.
And there were on the feed, but not on the recording.
Yeah.
Now they're on both.
Oh,
And
fancy.
Nick can hear us
I can.
because he's got the headphones.
Ooh,
We all
Fancy.
sound
Fancy.
fancy.
I haven't
Aw.
done one of these in a while. I'm still used to where it was that one.
Are you going to wear this?
Oh,
seriously?
yeah.
Do you want to wear
Anything
this?
that just
how
had
we've
a shirt?
Can if you
grown.
I know. I was like, ooh.
Well, I like it
this is
because
so
then I
nice.
can tell.
It was even smaller.
I can sit there.
Yeah,
I
it
can
was
sit
really
there-
tiny.
I can look at all of you and just go.
The one that we would do our auditions on at
Yeah.
after parties, and it's like half the
it's
time
right
we're
over
like,
there.
it's not, is it on? I don't
It's
know.
right over there. Welcome out to another story roundtable, the first for this segment.
Wow.
I'm creator Jerome Wetzel here with the cast of Travels with Tim, including Tim the Time Machine,
Hello.
Ezra Ford,
Hello.
and Liddy Feist.
Oh.
So that would be in order: Nick Arganbright, Joe Morales, Kristin Green. We're here to talk season 1 of Travels with Tim. First impressions on the season as a whole, or the segment as a whole.
That was, I think, did it premiere the first month that we had to move to Zoom performances?
I want to
Because
Season
of
1 began
COVID.
June 2020 and ran for 13
Oh,
episodes.
So
so
we've been
okay.
online 3 months.
April, May, June. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
So
We had a little bit of time to get the bugs worked out on the
yeah,
online.
that's why it feels like this season was so long. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was spread out over a good amount of time too.
We had a moment at Red Herring when we were. I don't know if it was I don't think it was the first one because they remember. I don't know who was directing between the two of us, but there was a moment where there was an issue of where Tim was placed at the microphone at the beginning, and it's now in the handbook. But like, remember, I think it had to be a few, but I was on 1 or 4. But like, I think two of us put me on 1. And I remember we had this conversation like, this is weird because we're not.
We're
used
like,
to
why
where-
is there not a press?
And
We
it's-
couldn't figure it out. It's like, oh, because we never have done this live before. That's
Right.
why. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was a very interesting thing. But we had that moment like, oh, this does feel a lot better, more congealed
Yeah.
here, and then it was crazy.
Well, we did the first 6 of 13 episodes on Zoom.
Okay. I had to
So
remember
half the
too.
season. And the first part of the 3-part Nazi story was on Zoom, and then parts 2 and 3 were live.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
In person.
So
It was
strange.
very weird because that was technically I had left, but I didn't
did.
leave the show. But then I was like, I came back and then there was this, and yeah, I was like, I couldn't remember. I'm like, when was the first episode actually live? Like in person.
This
with
was
people?
this was cast after you had decided to come back, and we just erased the going away at
Yeah,
all.
I didn't. There was
never
there
happened.
auditions for this? I don't remember. Okay,
there was.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah.
I don't remember half the things I do on this show. I really don't.
I know. Sometimes, like, what was that voice? Did I? Oh, okay.
I
First
didn't
impression. I really was excited about the just the idea of having Tim meet different people and have different traveling companions. I really, really liked the characters of Ezra and Liddy and just how completely opposite they were. And as the season went on, I kind of liked that there's a little bit of growth, but if you were expecting a lot, like, just no, it never happened.
Well, so when we were planning this segment, Dallas had recently left the cast, so we ended Packer and Ratcliffe. And technically we did a special Oops, All Packer and Ratcliffe thing during the pandemic that came out after the beginning of this series. But we knew Packer and Ratcliffe was winding down, and we wanted to keep adventures like that going. At the time, Nick was talking about leaving the troop, so we were talking about recasting Tim as well. And it would have been a whole new cast, but we still would have called it Travels with Tim, and it still would have been... 50,000 years later, he's changed. He's programmed a new voice, I guess.
Yeah.
But it gave it a nice through line when he decided to stay, because then we didn't have to worry about recatching the characters up. What do you think of the beginning setup that it's been 50,000 years since Packer and Ratcliffe, but we don't ever tell you like what happened to them or why they've stopped traveling with Tim, really? It's just like, here, we're going to drop you into the new story.
I mean, I liked it because it just made it seem like it was its own segment then. Like, there's still... Because a lot of shows will do that when they do, like, spin-offs. And it's kind of like, you don't need to know what Packer and Radcliffe are in order to continue listening to it. But it's a nice little Easter egg almost that they exist and that it's part of the story still.
Yeah. It makes sense because obviously Ezra and Liddy, they have no idea what that story was about, and Liddy wouldn't care, that's ancient history. But I like that the only one who shows hints of, how that affected him is obviously Tim, because 50,000 years to us is, something completely different to him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it worked really well.
And you traveled with Packard Ratcliffe for like 50,000 years, and then just spent a few years or decades, I can't remember, on your own, like just sitting in a forest being sad.
Yeah.
Before Ezra found you and you activated yourself again. It definitely felt like Tim had a plan throughout this season. What do you think about that?
I did not feel that way at all
No?
until the episode where it came out that way.
Uh-huh.
I had no comprehension of that at all. I didn't feel like that at all.
Yeah.
Because I felt like Tim has always lied about the randomizer, even with Packard and Ratcliffe.
Oh, yeah.
So it just felt like, oh, this is nothing new. Okay. So I didn't know that at all.
But what we came to find out throughout the season was that Tim's plan essentially was to find people with potential, help nurture that potential, make them better people, and then what do you think his end game was? Because we didn't explore that, and then all we know is he failed miserably at his first attempt at it.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I really have no idea what. It was hard to understand Tim's logic. A lot of that, because usually Tim is the side, and it felt like he still kind of was the side character for most of the season. But I also just, because he's really there at the end, beginning and the end, maybe like for a second in the middle, and it's just, oh, I'm Tim and I do silly things, and I go, ooh, and I go, oh, sir, are you sure?
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. And so then when it's like, oh, there's this other thing, I'm like, okay. I don't understand, so I'm really just kind of waiting to see how it unfolds, because I have no idea what he's thinking about or anything like that, because it's never. Yeah, I don't know.
I can explain that my thinking on it was obviously you're sad. You needed time to grieve losing Packard Ratcliffe, who had, as far as we know, just decided to move on. They'd been traveling a very, very long time. We don't know if they
like you do.
We don't know if immortals can die or if they cross over to something. We don't know what happened to them, and I don't think that's important. And that's not necessarily a goal
They go on
to
a
find
cruise,
out.
like a Vikings cruise.
That's just
and
really
they go around the Arctic, and
the end of Travels with Tim is Tim's been traveling for thousands of years, and then he goes back and picks him up again, and they think he's been gone 5 minutes. No, I'm kidding. But
Tell him he's 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
You are 5 minutes late.
That could be how it ends, yeah.
After 100,000 years.
right.
But yeah, you're right. He was
Shut up, Tim.
he was always the
Sorry,
sidekick
sirs.
and had very little development on his own, other than a
Yeah.
bit towards the end with the angel devil shoulder stuff and all that.
Yeah, and I think that was weird too.
So my thinking was, if we're going to continue Tim's story, he has to have motivation. He has to have purpose. And my thinking was, well, now he's had time to think about what he wants to do. He was always a supportive sidekick, so it makes sense to me that his mission would be to support others and try to help them.
Sure.
However, he is still new at this, so I don't think it's a terrible surprise that he failed so miserably in this first attempt.
Yeah. Well, you also did tell me midway through, because I that's nothing new that I've just said to Jim, and he's just like, don't worry, at some point we're going to figure out a way to get you more in it. I don't know when that is, though. And you kind of hinted at it at the end with the, I forget the character's name, but it's Megan's character, the Jack.
Captain Oho.
The Captain Jack lovingly homage, which I love.
Yeah,
because we love Torchwood and Doctor Who. So, but there's a kind of a reference. It's like, oh yeah, you can travel and go anywhere. I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to that so much, so much.
So Tim needed a purpose. Tim's purpose is to help people. This is his way to choose to do it. And he chose Ezra Ford and Liddy Fairest, which at the beginning we kind of made it seem like maybe he randomly stumbled upon these people, but no, he very purposely chose the two of you, and I hope that was clear by the end of the season. Joe, how did you approach Ezra as a character?
I'm trying to remember. I think because it was sort of explained that he was just a librarian, and I want to say it was from 2050 something.
He was contemporary to where Packard Ratcliffe originally came from. Yeah,
it was around that time
in
frame.
our future.
And just that, he stuck to books. He stuck to history, he stuck to knowledge, and wasn't someone who adventured much. And so I think that I approached it as someone who was just always very nervous and skittish and just like trying to be analytical about everything. Just like, okay, well, this could happen. What if this crazy thing could happen if we go and do this? I don't know. So pretty much I just played it just like myself, very anxious and just overthinking everything.
Anxious? Seriously? I never get that from you at all.
Seriously?
No.
Oh,
not at all.
I am extremely anxious.
Maybe it's just because you know us all well, and you're in your. I feel like because I'm anxious too, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
always very anxious.
I never
I think
get that
it's
with you,
all
man.
it's all internal. I think
Yeah.
I think I've
Okay.
just learned
Good
to
act-
internalize
Yeah.
it.
You're a good
Oh.
actor. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I was like, I think it's just easier to play that kind of stuff because I'm like, oh, I can release it. I can release
Yeah.
the anxiety.
It's always funny to hear like someone who performs a lot to hear like about these things because it's like I would never
Well,
Yeah.
I would never know.
At work the other day, they had me like speak up and something. They're like, "I'm an introvert," and they're like, "Yeah, but you do theater." I was like, "That doesn't."
It doesn't
Oh,
mean
yes,
anything.
no,
No,
that's
not at all.
no.
Plenty of us in the theater.
Yeah.
I think most people are. I like to think most people are because I was like, I think it's just how we all relate. We're like, oh, we all know how we can be ourselves here.
I think the best performers are a little bit more like very empathetic and very just sort of like humble about like the attention part of things.
Oh, yeah.
And they
Oh,
just
yeah.
come to do a good job and they want to dive into other people's experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how I approach Ezra. Then I was like, I think, and then as the season went on, there was his growth of just like he's not so afraid anymore. He's like, all right, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and chop some things up this time. We're gonna go on this adventure again, and there was very little fear, and so it was really nice that at least as that progressed, there was that growth there, and then things happened.
Ezra had a great growth arc, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah, so I really liked at least getting to play with that for 13 episodes. Well,
12.
12. There we go. Yeah, I
Your
had to
dead
think, I'm
body
like-
was in the 13th.
I had to think, yeah, 13th. Yeah, dead body was the 13th. But
Kristin, we then met Liddy First,
Yeah.
who was
Liddy.
a criminal
Aw.
and
I
a
love
con woman and just always into trouble.
Yeah.
Can I also throw in real quick? Sorry to everybody else, even Shane, who's setting up around us for the main show that we're going to do later. That's nonsensical, but because I love his meow meow. But Kristin does two of my favorite voices in all of Radio Hour, and they are Teak from Universe Journey,
Oh.
and it's Liddy from Travels with Tim.
Thank
Well,
you.
I'm killing off Teak next month, so.
Ah, no.
I was like, wait,
I really there was
no, I
there
don't
was
like. Wait a
anger.
minute, no,
Sincere anger, because usually you try to give everyone like in the no.
Because
Well, I don't
Yeah,
necessarily need to give you a heads up. I'd have to give her a heads up.
It's-
Yeah.
I love Liddy's voice.
Thank you. I really liked her voice too. I appreciate you saying that because those are the two voices that I'm probably most proud of. Yeah, her actual speaking voice isn't that different. It's just kind of a whiny like version of my voice. I don't know, but then I liked her little like.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's so cool.
I mean, I have every intention of seeing her again.
I hope so. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
not. We don't know when, but I hope so. Because yeah, she's out there somewhere, but she's got some.
And she still has unresolved business.
Oh yeah.
But I would say, I mean, the caveat there is I have no intention at this point to bring her back as a companion. She's definitely not returning as a main character in season
Yeah.
2. But this segment is much more like Doctor Who than Peck and Ratcliffe were. And you know, Doctor Who always did those great specials where they brought back old companions and stuff. And Lydia's primed opportunity to do that. Not Ezra, unfortunately, because he's dead.
Oh, he's dead. But see,
Dead.
I think there's always the chance of just somehow going back and just
Earlier in the timeline.
and just
Yeah.
somehow just
Or we
seeing
do have-
him about and
Or we do have 13 dimensions.
that too. Yeah.
Ooh.
So there's always 12 other, 11 other, because we know in the Nazi dimension Ezra was never born.
Yes.
But there's possibly 11 other Ezras out there. So we began the segment, and the first couple episodes were just getting to know you guys. The third episode was called The Space Station, and that was the one where we thought Nick was leaving, and so I wrote it so he could change his voice at the end, and gave you guys growth arcs like immediately in the third episode, which would have felt so rushed and awful. And then he decided not to leave, so I rewrote the episode, which was much nicer because we didn't have to rush a growth arc into 3 episodes, right? Whereas otherwise we would have seen you being brave and stuff that early in the season, which... Anyway, but the space station was almost a copy of a Packer and Ratcliffe episode, on purpose, just to kind of show the difference of how you two would handle a situation versus how they handled a situation.
I kind of forgot that.
Yeah, there was another monster on a space station.
They just didn't give a care, right? If that's
They did it, and everybody ended up dying. And they're like, "Oh well, bye." They didn't even try to help.
I'm kind of now. I want to go back and listen to both those episodes back
Yeah.
to back just to see.
that was.
I thought about revisiting the space station again at the end of the season, but I didn't feel it was necessary because it did what it was. It had already showed that reflection of this is a different segment, but also kind of the same segment. That's why we did early in the season. From there, I'd say the most important episode after that was Bride of Shizreen, where Lydia is captured.
Oh, and yeah, Ezra.
And Ezra
Yeah.
finds his
For her,
bravery and
yeah.
comes for her.
That was like one of the first times that he's at his bravest.
Yeah.
I think, and where it's like,
He was still very nervous about being brave.
but he takes a leap of faith, almost for the first time, and it's like, hey, things weren't so bad. I mean, they were, but they weren't.
And
No one died yet.
And I think that affected
Yet.
Lydia a little bit because she really did not expect him to come for her.
Yeah.
Didn't expect it. She is used to kind of getting herself out of these scrapes that she gets herself into. And I think at first, it almost didn't even hit her immediately, like how big that was. It was sort of just like, oh, cool, like, thanks. All right, yeah, I'm awesome. I deserve to live. And then
Yeah.
I'm lovable. But
even at the end of the episode, she said if our positions were reversed, I wouldn't have come.
oh
forward.
yeah, she
Yeah.
was clear about that.
Very
It was
open,
definitely
and it's
not
like, yeah,
like
that's
a
understood.
like, oh my gosh, I am so moved and I need to rethink things. She's just like, you're kind of stupid. I'm glad you did it, but okay. And I think her attachment grew slowly, even from that point on.
I think her growth arc was slower
Oh yeah,
sure.
and I don't know.
and less straight line, like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, as we saw in the season
Yeah.
finale.
Yeah. She I like having a character who's so flawed who didn't have some big like change of heart or who's conscious.
She was close though. That was the sad thing.
Yeah.
She
super
was
close.
getting close. Yeah.
That was
yeah.
right. It was like it
Ezra
was
not
starting to
died.
happen, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
nope.
Yeah.
Well, I think she really had undergone that change, but then the trauma of losing Ezra told her she was wrong to make the change. And she
Yeah.
immediately reverts
Well,
back to
I
what's
remember
comfortable.
there was kind of a she was really pissed at Tim a few episodes before even
Yeah.
Ezra died. So there was already that like she changed and then she's like,
Oh, because I figured out the randomizer.
Right.
Yeah.
She was calling him on his bullshit.
So we're talking about the 3-part Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
middle of the season. Absolutely. And Packard Ratcliffe, if they figured it out, they probably did. They didn't call you on it because they just like to mess with you anyway. So they're not going to be
Right.
that upfront with you. Whereas she's like, yeah, no, exactly. Why do you think, though, she didn't tell Ezra? Because she almost did and then didn't.
I have no idea. That's the thing with a character like Liddy is in my head that she's very internal anyway, and I don't think she fully, in my head, like it's one of those things where she's not going to fully give herself over to trust Ezra enough, because if she tells Ezra and then Ezra doesn't give the answer that she probably thinks she wants, and this is I have no idea if this is really true or not. I think that it would hurt that relationship, and she doesn't want to hurt that relationship. So it's that thing. It's like if I just keep it all in, then I won't ever get hurt. But to an extent, like in that regard, because that could damage how it could mess up the way. Because then Ezra would be like, "We don't need him. Let's not do this anymore." And I want you should come with me or whatever. And then she'll have to make the tougher call of, "Oh, I actually kind of like hanging out with you, and I kind of like hanging out with the robot." The time machine. I want to have to cut this loose, and she doesn't want to do that. And I think that would suck for her to do that. So that's a guess. I have no idea. Today on Armchair Expert.
I think part of her also, even though she's upset that she got tricked, she thinks it's funny that Ezra is still getting tricked.
Yeah.
But also, I think she doesn't want to be the one to like break his like trust in other people or his like fun adventure.
So you think there's something she admires about him?
I think a little bit where she sees like that he's actually she's seeing his growth, because obviously he is too stuck up and scaredy cat of everything. And she thinks this is good for him. She doesn't need it. I don't think she thinks she needs it, but she doesn't want to break that illusion for him, and she kind of thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
But I think, and this is a serious question though, but doesn't she also kind of not give a shit anyway? So what would be the point of, or do you know what I mean? That's why.
Or
I
it's
think,
at least
It's that balance of, like,
that.
Yeah.
Either
you
she
want
just
people to
doesn't
think-
care,
yeah.
or maybe she does. If you want to think she
Yeah.
cares, maybe she does. Even I can't decide sometimes how much she actually
I think it comes
cared.
and goes, because I think at least Liddy doesn't want people to know that she cares.
Yeah.
But I think deep down she does care in some regard.
And
Yeah.
I think from the way that we've heard from her past is that, like, it's like when she got captured by the aliens in that one thing. It's like, well, okay,
Yeah.
all right. And like, well, I wouldn't have come back for you because no one would have normally come back for me. Like,
She's been burned before.
right,
Yeah.
burned. Yeah. So I just,
Do you think Ezra admires something about Liddy?
Liddy, I think.
Lily.
Yeah,
That's her real name.
I think so. I mean, he gets frustrated because it's like as they're going on these adventures, he's learning new things, he's becoming a new person, and it's like, Lydia, you're still trying to steal all this stuff. Stop trying to steal things. Stop it. Like trying to be almost like the parent in a way. But no, I think he does still admire her because I think that's what helped him gain courage for things, and obviously he had enough compassion to go and save her in the long run too. So
Sure. After Tim was kind of like, yeah, you gotta.
yeah, well, you got it. Yeah, Tim also had
Tim had to force her to save you. So.
Yeah.
I'm saying this for the sake of a joke, but controversial opinion, he doesn't feel anything anymore because he's dead.
Well, that's true.
Sorry, the whole time I was like, I gotta get it. I was like Keith. I was like, I gotta get that out. Yeah. I gotta get that out. So sorry.
It is.
I'm so sorry.
It is true. He could, but he feels in another dimension. There's where my mind's going.
But no, I didn't mean to.
But
Remind me, what was the like? Was it something he decided to do that got him killed, or was it just like
What did
it was
So
another
he died
battle?
twice.
He died twice.
Well,
yeah.
I know that. There was the one fake out where then
Right, with
what's
the
her
mass
name
murder.
reversed
Which I like.
time.
Yeah, I liked that episode a lot.
Well, we had already hinted before that episode that he was going to die. Like when we met Captain Oho, she's like, "Yeah, I've never heard of either of you two," and she's known Tim for a long time. She was our, of course, Melanie Pond type character.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The doctor's wife.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
But, and yes, she's also a bit of Captain Jack.
See, I took more Captain Jack than
She was
Han,
supposed to be a
but-
cross between both, but I also, part of the way Megan played her and part of the way I tried to write her was, you're still not sure if she's actually Tim's friend or if she's Tim's enemy that's using what she knows about him to manipulate him. Because she left Ezra and Liddy at the mercy as slaves. She just left them there. And yes, maybe she knew Tim would rescue them and it would be fine, but did she? Like, is she good? Is she bad? Is she chaotic? Neutral? I want to keep you guessing.
Fair enough.
My goal is to keep you guessing because I haven't decided yet if she's a good guy or a bad guy. I think because of Doctor Who, you will assume she's a good guy. But we also saw her do a very bad thing in the first time we met her. So, yeah. She did leave you a gun, though, so you were able to rescue yourself, sort of.
Maybe she's just a true neutral.
Yeah. We'll find out in future
I
episodes.
feel no way or another
Doesn't
about
matter
it.
anything. I'm just here and just
I'm just
doing...
here to keep the balance.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I plan to use her
that's
once or twice a season,
Yeah.
so we'll learn more about her as we go on. But
It actually is. Like, true neutral is actually very
True
interesting.
neutral is interesting.
Yeah.
Like, she's just trying to keep balance.
Balance.
Like,
in
whenever the universe starts to go this way, you pull this,
And it's like, yeah,
just like,
it's like, no, everything just needs to stay balanced in order to keep moving.
Interesting.
So, Nick, do you think you've seen enough of Oho to understand why Tim and her may or may not be friends?
No. I think we've just established that.
yeah.
Okay.
We're starting
no.
with that and working
Yeah.
backwards.
But, I mean, well, it's like, I would like to subscribe to that newsletter, though.
I want to know.
Yeah, I would like to know. I really have no idea. I mean, that's the thing. So being what you just said, though, my instinct was yes because of Doctor Who, because I was thinking Captain Jack is maybe she may not show up all the time, but she'll show up and will be friendly because Captain Jack can do some shady shit.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he always pulls through for the Doctor, and so I was like, and that's how it kind of felt there. So that's why I was just like, okay. So I would have said yes, but now if you just said all this, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I may end up cutting some
Now I
out
feel
just
no.
to avoid giving away things.
Just like,
It's a really interesting thing to be given a character that you're told like you have centuries of history with and have no idea what it is yet, but you still have to play that like very full.
Yeah, I almost regret not
dynamic
inviting Megan to sit in on this
relationship.
conversation
Yeah.
because she was only in 2 episodes. But yeah,
but it's such an important character.
yeah, probably in future roundtable for
Which
Travel to
I did not know
talk
how much we were allowed to say, hey, this is very similar. This is at least inspired by Doctor Who, because obviously
sure.
I love Doctor Who. That was one of the reasons why I love this segment
yeah.
too. Anyway,
Who's your Doctor?
10th.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, 10th
Obviously.
10th is.
Yeah.
If as like personality wise, I'm more like 11, but I know for sure 10th Doctor.
I think the stories were better for the 11th, but I like the 10th better as just the way he embodied. The stories
Yes.
got much more interesting after he left.
Yes.
Although if you go back to the old days, I've only seen bits and pieces, but Tom Baker, he's
I
pretty
would love
fantastic.
to actually watch Tom Baker.
He's
The
pretty
Fourth
The few
Doctor.
that I've
Yes.
seen are actually really good.
Yeah.
But because he was the Doctor for so long.
like 7 years or something.
There's-
Oh, he was a long, yeah.
Like legit, well, I think it was longer in years, right? But it was like 7 seasons.
But it still was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
more
Yeah.
more episodes.
I think it was
too.
like, it's insane.
Yeah, he was a long time, and he's so good. Anyways,
Then
So-
knows. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, who?
So yeah, then we killed Ezra the first time.
Yep.
Did
Which
you think when you first saw that might be it?
no, because you told me.
Oh, did I
I think you told me.
So I remember,
You told me, yeah.
I remember when we first started doing travel with him, he's like, yeah, Ezra's probably going to die, and I was just like,
Yeah.
okay. Like you told me, like right in the first episode, probably when that was happening, like that was what was.
So
gonna happen.
I had not decided until we got to the end for sure, but I told both Kristin and Joe that very likely one of them would not return for season 2. Very likely the other one would, which was not ultimately the way we went. But I told them that one or the other of you is going to be out of the segment because it needs to be a rotating group of companions. And also I felt like to have... So whatever the story was going to, whatever that impact was going to hit at the end, I felt we needed to lose somebody. And Ezra, it made sense to me, would die because we're building him up to be brave, and then all of a sudden... So Ezra, to me, that was how he would exit. With Liddy, it could be death, it could be being arrested, it could be a number of things.
Yeah.
It ended up being very different than what I would have expected because she just chose to leave. But those were where I was balancing. Like, which one do we keep? And it was really going to be about which one do we have the most story with. And ultimately, the reason I chose neither is because I felt the richest story was with Tim. And by losing both of you, that creates something really deep for him to take forward.
Well, I mean, at one point even too, he's like, "Well, Ezra's probably going to die. I might even kill Liddy too. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out as I go." And I was like, "Okay."
Because I think you sent us both a message, and you're like, by the way, neither of you are returning.
Yeah.
I think it was the more interesting choice to kill Ezra, honestly, as sad as it was.
Well, yeah, I do too.
I think killing Liddy, though, like, obviously Ezra would have feelings about that, it would have confirmed for him the thing that Tim is trying to pull him out of. Like, you stay in your hole, you don't take chances. Whereas killing Ezra didn't necessarily make Liddy go, like, further back into how she lived her life. It made her question it more, I think. Like, more than Tim ever could have. Was like, wow, he was growing and I encouraged this and he took chances and risks, and holy crap, he is dead now.
I almost feel like you didn't go backwards, but you just kind of went sideways.
Oh yeah, like the lesson wasn't like, whoa, my way of life is maybe a little reckless. It's like, yep, the mistake was caring.
Yeah.
The mistake was just
Yeah,
caring.
you're just like, oh,
Yep.
I'm not caring again. See, yeah,
Yep.
if it would have been reversed,
Yeah.
Ezra would have easily crawled back into that hole and been like, Tim, I'm done.
And then
I'm
he
done.
would have left. And
Yeah.
so either way, we will lost both. But to
Yeah.
me, what it ultimately came down to is I think there is future growth arc for
Yeah.
Liddy.
Well, it's like in
I
any
agree, yeah.
And I don't see that necessarily with Ezra.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
in any plot where like you're gonna like Tim is gonna have to try this several times. The first one is always like the worst one, and it's probably gonna be the quickest. So to drag out the first attempt would just be
Yeah.
like, it can't go this
As
way.
soon
It
as
has
that
to go
clicked in
wrong.
my brain of,
Yeah.
that we need to see him, this whole series will be about his series of failures until
Yeah.
he gets it right?
Yeah.
And there may be some
Yeah.
successes along the way.
I don't know.
I'm picturing the sequence in the first Iron Man where Tony Stark is first developing his like suit, and the first time he tries it, it's just like
Yeah.
like that was this season. We're just the utter failure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember. Fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're probably gonna have to edit
We'll
that.
beep
I
it.
don't know, but yeah.
Well, we're going with the Iron Man thing. It's where he gets it finally working a little bit, and then I think
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
just
he goes hits the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I thought Liddy might come back as an antagonist for a little bit before she, at the end of the series, would have have her growth arc finished
Possibly.
there.
You never know. You never know
That
when
would
we'll
be
see her
interesting.
again. My intention is to see her again, but you never know.
We're going to see her again.
Well, most
I feel
likely.
very confident we're going to see
I
her
hope.
again.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so
Assuming-
too, yeah.
Assuming everything goes the way I would expect it to, but
It's like she would either just go into the woods and live by herself for a very long time, and you'll find her maybe an unwilling part of some tiny little village tribe
Yeah.
somewhere, or she's gonna grow into the supervillain who tries to stop him from messing with people's lives.
could be.
Oh, ooh, damn.
Or some middle ground where she's
No,
took some lesson
No.
from what she went through
Not at
and then made
No.
herself slightly better.
Do it.
that doesn't sound real. That does not sound realistic to me at all.
Depends how it plays out. Anyway. So the 10th episode of the season, called Don't You Forget About Me, we actually went back to the very first episode of Radio Hour, the very first live show. and let Ryan Yohe play himself, and he wore the same shirt he wore in the audience to the very first
I
show.
didn't
It's
know.
on the
Oh,
radio.
that's.
I saw that in pictures for years. The back of his.
Oh, that's fantastic. Did you ask
It
him
was
to
the
do
green,
that then,
no,
or
it was the Green
he
Ninja
just-
Turtle shirt, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Oh,
I've never
that's
seen him
so-
wear it really since that
such
first
a good call.
show.
Yeah.
And
So
he
it
and
was
Liddy hooked up.
Yep.
They did. They had passionate sex.
Yeah.
That we tied into a Dirty Story Night.
Yes, we did. Oh God.
I haven't listened.
Are you talking about the Dirty Story Night?
Dirty Story.
Oh yeah,
Night,
that was one of the early
Okay,
shows
that's
we
right.
ever did.
That's what I thought. I'm
Hamtaro?
like, oh gosh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's on the podcast.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's.
But yeah, that was very meta and tongue-in-cheek to revisit, and
All
letting
about
somebody
it.
else play me was fun. And then he played him, Sam. I was just like, be more annoying, be more. Sam Clements, he was great as a terrible version of me. So yeah, but that also gave me the idea of let's take this like clerk and put him in the time machine and make him the villain for the finale.
Oh yeah.
So that kind of came up mid-writing on that one, like, and I told Mark as soon as he played the part the first time, I was like, I'm bringing you back in a couple episodes because you're gonna be the one that kills Ezra.
That's. I was not there for that.
It was
live
senseless-
show. That's
senseless
why.
Violence.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because I couldn't. That's why I'm like, it's fresh in my head because I just did the re-recording of it. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why.
If I do recordings where I'm by myself and it's not like with the Zoom read,
Yeah.
my retention of it.
Oh
goes
yeah.
out
But
the
see,
window.
but it's because I just did it.
Yeah.
Because I had
Oh,
been
I got
reminded
you. Yeah.
countless times.
So what was Tim's motivation for going back to that?
To the radio hour day.
Back to
Yeah, that's a
Pack
good
rat?
point.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Because
I
it
don't
was
remember. I
ultimately
have to look at
then
the
that
script.
that decision, whatever it was, that he's like, I want to take you here.
Yeah. Well, I don't think
Yeah, I don't
bringing.
remember.
I don't remember the name of the man that killed Ezra, but I don't think bringing him was part of Tim's plan. I think that
Oh
just
no,
kind of happened.
no, but
Well, no, yeah.
And then you just left him in your basement forever, for years till he went crazy because you weren't really thinking about him or caring about him.
Yeah, I don't. I have no.
He actually ended up inside of you during the Packer and Ratcliffe days.
Yeah.
So he was
Yeah.
there for like 50.
I got
the
that
entire
part, but,
time
like-
Packer and Ratcliffe happens, he's there.
Yeah.
He's in the basement.
your basement.
Plus 50,000 years after.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't
gosh.
remember why I took him to the show. I'd have to look back at the script, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was part of it. Was just like, let's do a fun tongue-in-cheek of we were close to an anniversary and nostalgia stuff.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a fun one.
Nostalgic stuff.
Nostalgia.
But yeah, the reason we killed Ezra the first time and then brought him back with the magic was so that you might think he was okay now and that we wouldn't actually kill him in the finale.
Yeah.
So
Which I did like that. Yeah.
were you satisfied with the way he died? Because it was kind of senseless, quick. It wasn't like in the middle of a heroic saving people.
But
it
I
was
think
just
that's,
like
that's why I think I liked it because I feel like most stories always are like it's this epic battle and it's slow and painful and there's like a dramatic scene. It's like
And it's exactly the thing you were afraid of, but now, yeah.
yeah, and I like that it was just like no, this you were just being brave and that was the point. You were being brave and it just happens.
well, and it wasn't even like you ran towards him to fight him. You were just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong
Yeah.
time. He comes in and you're dead before you really have a chance to do anything.
And I think that that's why I liked it because it wasn't expected.
It
The
wasn't.
way it was just one and done because it's
Yeah.
like more like hey that's life. It's not how movies or TV shows portray it to be.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's
Every
not
once in a while,
forced.
you just need that. It's like that put in my mind like the Buffy episode, "The Body," where her mom dies, and it's not from a demon, it's not from a monster. It's just like
just
Oh, I was
I
thinking
only-
of Jenny Calendar, weirdly enough.
yeah, that was
Because
too.
he just
she
kind of
was
walked.
just there.
Because you're like,
yeah.
they're not going to really kill her, maybe.
Yeah.
Or if not, like
What?
it's like early in the season, mid of the season.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
What happened?
I'm so sorry.
We're finally recording our Buffy Buff and the Scooby Newbie watch, and the whole point is that I don't know a lot of the major plot points that are going to
oh
Moving on, which is the name of the season.
Where
finale.
I want this
From
this part of the
here.
recording so that we can put it into
No.
the. You can hear the moment that Kristin found
Yeah.
out that
Remind me.
Buffy's mom
And,
died.
and then we move on by where do we go from here? Yeah, you did the musical, so I was like, she knows what happens.
No,
no
I'm sorry.
I knew I'd seen the musical before because it was a musical episode. I know some of the plot points, but I didn't know that.
I've made a grave mistake.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So Ezra died, and it was very unceremonious.
And then his body was drug around for a whole episode
Yeah.
for comedic effect.
yeah. That's why I was like damn okay cool.
I went a little bit back and forth on that because that could be pretty heartless to let your main character's
Well-
body be used for comedy, but
It's a delicate line because when I was reading it was, oh, he's doing that to fake the audience out, that because it's so comedic. Tim will bring him back at the end.
Yeah, like he'll somehow be brought back, but it just no.
Granted, I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was too bad. Like you could have went way harder with it, and then it would have not been good.
In my mind, this is part of it. If it's a character we do for 7 seasons, we can't justify that without writing it very differently. Because he was in 11, 12 episodes.
That's what it was kind of
felt
like. It's
okay.
still, it works.
And keeping the body in the scene, in the story, and actually keeping the body on stage for the live show, just sort of built up that expectation of he's gonna stand up at any point.
Yeah, like he's alive.
Yeah, otherwise he would have gone and sat in his seat.
Yeah.
He's done.
But no, that's why
no.
That was just fun to also get to do live. That's promoting to come to the live shows because my body was just there.
Yeah.
I just laid there.
I kind of just in my mind, if I didn't think of a good way to do it, I wouldn't have done it. But my mind was like, well, you were the main character for the season. You should be in the finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was in it. Yeah, that's why I was like, I like that. I was like, I was there.
IABD credit.
Just I was there, just not
no lines.
vocally. Yeah,
no lines. Yeah, not the first time we've done that, but not often.
Nope,
do we do
but
that.
easiest segment I've ever had to do.
So
did you sleep? Was it comfortable?
I did not sleep. No,
Oh, sorry.
I did not sleep. No, I always drink.
You were sort of like dragged around and like your arms.
Yeah, I was dragged around. Yeah,
I was saying that for the sake of a joke. But
but no, I was like, but I drink too much Red Bull, so no, I was wide awake.
Damn.
Yeah.
See, I've been worried.
He's fast moving.
Yeah.
It's like I have to go to the bathroom.
No.
Oh, I might have had to. Who knows? I might have had to. That wouldn't surprise me.
Dear God.
well, I mean, when you die, your bowels release, so you could have just done it on stage and said it was an acting choice.
And
I should have asked you to do
I was
that.
like, look at that acting choice.
I should have.
Right
I could have asked.
Bravo!
So now,
Bravo.
for a future segment, do it because I'll do it. I think it'd be funny.
Oh, God.
I'll bring a change of clothes. It'll be
And
fine.
make it the first segment we do that.
Oh, so then I have to sit and everyone. Oh no, that.
Oh no! Make it like when we do a thing where it's like a special episode where it's like more than just like 2 segments worth or like 3 segments worth of length, and so then he just sits there the whole time. So
Page 5.
Page 5, right? And then he just sits there and like the urine is just going everywhere. We have to sidestep it.
And then Larry comes out with a mop and just cleans it up.
Excuse me, guys. Excuse me.
That's a good line.
Oh, Ezra, you deserved better.
Yeah.
So, so your finale, do you feel pretty good of where the character ended? Is there something that you wish you could have gotten to do that you didn't get to do?
No, I actually really liked it. Because I think it was one you always warn us if something like this is going to happen. So I think if I didn't know, I'd be like, what the hell? Like, why didn't he get any kind of? But it made sense for it overall because I do like those where it is drawn out and it is something where he dies because he dies from something that he's fighting that he's feared for so long. I love seeing that, but I think for this it just made sense, and I think it makes sense for Tim's growth then in the long run too.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
yes. I was like, so I like being the body on the floor to help Tim grow.
I'm very sad, and by that I mean let's have cake.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. I love Joe, so it's sad to not. Joe could be back though next season in another role. I don't know.
It could be.
He could be back in another role. But again, I would like to just see Ezra come back. It's just a one-off sort of thing, just like a fleeting. Yeah, I mean that. Also, we've done zombies before.
We've done zombies lots of times.
Please, no.
We're not going to.
No.
We're not going to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
No, I really wanted to do Nazis this season. We did Nazis. I always wanted to do Nazis with Packer and Ratcliffe, and we never got around to it. So when we did travel with Tim, one of the first things on my list was let's.
You
do
don't
a
hear
Nazi.
that often. I want to do some Nazis.
Yeah.
You don't hear that often.
I mean, I feel
I'm
like
kidding.
every
I
time
know what
travel
you're
story
talking-
gets to Nazis.
I know what you're saying. Sorry.
Star Trek gets to
I had to
Doctor
go in
Who.
there. Indiana Jones, for God's sake, works best with the Nazis. So, yeah, I had to go after you on that one. That was funny. Sorry.
Where do you think Liddy went following the season finale? And she wouldn't even let Tim take her back to her own home.
No,
That's right.
And does she have any way of like
No.
getting any? She's just sort of.
She is where she is.
I'm sure she'll. I don't know what the life forms are on the planet where we left her. I don't.
She
really
was on
remember.
the space station. She was
Oh,
going to
was
get a
it?
ride home, catch a ride home with whoever was coming to rescue the survivors of the space station.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure she'll probably sneak aboard one of them. I think she's gonna be alone and kind of just back to doing her stuff for a while. But I think she's gonna be not with the same joy and like carefree spirit that she had before.
Yeah.
I think this
Part of her
messes her
story
up.
we don't want to see anyway. So.
Oh yeah, skip that boring stuff. Cut to years
As long-
later when she's either really messed up or she's like a guru of some kind.
As
I
long
don't
as we
know.
just do one cutaway where it's like they do like the hop, the greatest adventure, and it's just her like wandering around, whether she's angry or happy or sad or whatever, and then we cut back to whatever else, and that's it for a bit.
Just like
Sorry.
in 2 years, we just randomly see her walk in the background and glare at Tim, and then
Spoiler alert, the next part of the podcast discusses the Christmas special, which has not yet been released on the podcast feed. If you do not want to be spoiled, please pause this until after you hear that episode and then come back. Well, and then that brought us to the holiday special we did, and again, I'm ripping Doctor Who, but sometimes when the Doctor loses companions, he needs like a one-off companion in a holiday special as a transitional time.
Yeah.
And so Tim ended up spending like 50 years with Elias, because Tim is a serial monogamous. He doesn't easily jump for... He spent far longer with Elias than he did with you two. They became
I just know
besties.
Casey May played him.
Yes.
And I heard it was fantastic.
And he built you a body. So
And he
you'll
built
be
me a
able
body.
to
Yeah.
leave now. And by the end of it, he made... When he died of old age, he made you promise to not be alone.
That's right. I remember that clearly.
yeah.
It's not because I've not recorded that episode
Well, I
yet.
felt like that let
just done
us...
this.
I feel like that gave us the whole growth arc of he went through his grief, he moved on a bit. Staying with Elias on his planet's not the same as traveling, but he's gotten to a point now where he's ready for season 2 to go find another couple of companions, whoever they may be.
Yeah.
And we'll have to find out and see. Last thoughts on Travels with Tim season 1. Or hopes for season 2.
I need to think a second.
Okay.
That's my last thought.
Yeah.
I really liked the character of Liddy. I really liked all of these characters. It was a lot of fun. So in that regard, I'm sad that it's, I mean, for the most part, over. For Ezra, definitely over. But I think
Just hammer it.
He's dead. He doesn't care.
yeah, I think for, kicking off what we're doing with Tim, I think this was a really cool season. I had a lot of fun. There's a lot of character stuff to explore with Tim still. I'm curious what does happen to Liddy. It'll be a long time before we ever find out anything, but yeah, I think this is a great segment for people to jump in on. It's one of the few where it's like you haven't missed 7 years of a backstory, so people can
that's a
jump in.
very
It's a
good
fun
point.
one,
Yeah.
so I'm really glad that we're still doing this.
And I
this
think you could
style of
probably jump
segment.
into season 2 without having heard season 1.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it'll be another
'cause
restart.
It's new
That's-
people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's like the beauty of Doctor Who as well.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
you can jump in. There's obviously things you're going to somewhat miss, but you can jump in with the Doctor and just
Different periods.
different
Yeah.
periods. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, same for me with first season. I loved the characters. I liked getting to be a part of this. Obviously, I'm a Doctor Who fan, so
Yeah.
getting to this was, for me, a lot of fun. But
Yeah,
I'm-
our doctor won't change, just the companion.
Yes,
Yeah.
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 But it's like I'm excited to see where Tim goes with this. I just want to at least be some character eventually in this. I don't want to not be in this segment at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll see
There's
what
always
happens.
lots of guest characters.
I just have to audition.
Yeah.
Travel.
You kind of have to send in those
Yeah, I
auditions.
Nick,
I really, man, these are all good answers that I've heard before. I was really buying time because I didn't know exactly what to say. Because Tim is still kind of an anomaly a little bit. I know a little bit more of the arc that he has, I guess, or the trajectory, but I still don't know exactly where to go from there with that. I will say, though, I will definitely miss Liddy and Ezra for sure, because I like performing with Kristin and Joe a lot.
as much as you miss Packer and Radcliffe.
Man, well, it's a different vibe, man.
It is.
And
It's different,
again,
yeah.
when we started on, I think that's the other thing too, is that we started kind of we didn't really talk about this at all. Packer and Radcliffe, Chase, Dallas, and I think I said this in the Packer and Radcliffe ones. I always felt like I was intruding on their little fun game that they were having, and that works for us. But then here it's just like, well, we couldn't really improv as much or go off each
No.
other. And I think there was a few times in the last few episodes where we got to, and it was a effing blast.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
If I had to
it
say
was
one,
sad,
If I had to say one thing that I regret, it's because it was right at the end when we're like, oh, we picked up a groove because we're finally getting to do it live.
Yeah.
And now it's gone.
Well, and then the
Yeah.
characters are starting to know each other more.
Yeah.
We were live. They were
We were bickering at all
Yeah.
one point. It was like
Oh,
a
yeah.
cute little,
Yeah.
like the end of the episode bickering, and I was like, "This is
where it
great.
doesn't matter what you say, and you can kind of
Yeah, you
keep
just
going.
gotta go on.
As long
Yeah.
as we somehow we get to that last line, we can.
Yeah,
bicker up
and then
into
it
that
kind
thing.
of makes sense overall for the characters
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
We finally started to get to do that, and then I was
So-
like, oh, nope, dead.
That just
Okay.
builds into the tragedy of the story, though.
Yeah.
They were
Right,
just finding
exactly.
their rhythm together, and whoop, nope.
It might have
Yeah.
been interesting to see a season 2 with them, but We made a different choice.
But no, it makes sense overall, but I think
Yeah.
it's just because of how we had to start the story, because we didn't get to do it in person. Like, I think it would have been easier to kind of fall into the improv
the normal,
and just, the normal way of how we seem to always perform any of these characters.
The one thing I really like too, that the downside of that, but an upside I think too, is that for the next season is I really like this is a more term that they throw out in comic books, but like when a writer takes over like a comic book title like Spider-Man or Batman, all the toys had to go back in the box. So then the next season, the toys can get out and be played again. And so technically, I hate to say it like this, but Ezra and Lydia are kind of toys you play with for a bit. But at the end of the day, the board has to be reset. So everything has to be kind of set. There could be small, tiny changes. Like there's a new toy in Batman's Bat Belt. But for the most part, Gotham City is still where it was. So if the Joker became mayor, he can't be the mayor anymore. Batman has to be do the same thing. So at the end of the day, Tim will there's a part of me that really loves that idea. So you're constantly kind of resetting, putting the toys back in the box, so you can tell different stories with that. So I'm intrigued by that.
I do think it's likely at least one of your companions in season 2 will make it into season 3, because
that's
if we do it,
I think, but I
don't
like
want to
that.
do the same.
Well, I was even gonna. I was like,
Liddy's going to come back at some point.
some
Probably.
point.
But
But
very likely she will.
I mean, at least one of the 2 new main characters during the cast for season 2 will probably still be a main character in season 3, because I don't plan on just new companions every year.
Well, sure.
right, because then it's just like that's
Right.
expected. Then so
Right.
it's like
Exactly.
it
Right.
throws it in and keeps it fresh. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you all for talking about Travels with Tim season 1. It's been wonderful. I can't wait to write season 2 next year.
Well, I'm excited too because I'm so a quitter. Quitter? What's that? I don't know. A Twitter.
Twitter.
You may
Shut
not
up,
get to do
Tim.
another holiday special before we actually bring the segment back, but
I need to learn how to talk before then too.
well, thank you very much, and go listen to it again.
Bye.
Bye.
It's All Been Done Radio Hour number 13, Story Roundtable number 432. Check out our website at iabdpresents.com. We would like to thank both Circle 270 Media, which the podcast is part of, and Boxland, our host performance space, where you can catch us live every second Saturday of every single month. Get your tickets at iabdpresents.com. Don't forget to support us at patreon.com/IABD. A mere $5 donation gets you access to past and upcoming raw audio of our monthly shows, as well as exclusive performances, bloopers, and short stories. Now have a great week, or something along those lines. I don't know if I was supposed to say that something along those lines part, but it was written down, so I'm saying it.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's got the time?